I have always wanted to be the first person to walk from the northernmost point of the United States, located at Point Barrow, Alaska, to the southernmost point of our great nation in Key West, Florida. Finally, in 2006, I got my opportunity. I walked 400 miles down the Dalton Road, from Dead Horse, Alaska, to Fairbanks. The next summer, I walked the Alaska Highway to the border with Canada, and in successive summers walked across the Yukon and through British Columbia. I then wobbled across the far west, from Washington, over the Rocky Mountains, all the way to Wyoming. Then I trotted through the Midwest, including Nebraska and Missouri. In the meantime, I returned to Alaska to tackle Point Barrow. I walked across the frozen Arctic Ocean, where temperatures were 60 below zero. Undaunted, in 2013, when it was a little warmer, I walked 730 miles up the Florida Historic Trail, from the Everglades all the way to Tallahassee. Then I entered Dixie, walking across the great states of Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and Arkansas. I had to return to Alaska twice more before I finally conquered the tundra and the polar bears. Am I tired? Well, of course. There they are. There they are. We got to get past them. Got to get past them. Well, this is one of the splendors. Walking on the Florida Trail. Here's a big gator. You just stay there, buddy, and I'm okay. Making a lot of noise. Guess he's in charge around here. Notice the beautiful countryside here. A lot of little calves around. So I guess that's what it's all about. Well, sure taking his time here. Hello from Montana. This is what I call a bird attack. These birds are all over. This is where they nest, under the highway, but they keep coming out, so gotta do my best. There they are. They're protecting their turf. There are no roads leading into Point Barrow, so I started my journey in Dead Horse, Alaska. I followed the Alaska Pipeline for 400 miles along the Dalton Road, ending in Livengood, just north of Fairbanks. The next summer, I continued my walking adventure following the Alaska Highway, all the way to the border with Canada. In May of 2008, I saw an opportunity to complete a Florida portion of my route and entered the Keys 100-mile race, which started in Homestead and headed to Key West. Sadly, I only completed 68 miles, but another portion of my route was now complete. That summer, I entered the Yukon and often greeted by First Nation Aboriginal people walked all the way to British Columbia. When the summer weather returned in 2010, I walked 900 daunting miles through British Columbia. I was tired, and the bears were plentiful. It was motivating to arrive in the United States again and have the opportunity to walk across the far west states of Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. In the early morning, the sun is just about to rise. The little boats, canoes, and there's my cabin right there. Well, I'm walking through the woods near Ross Lake. Started up at Hosamine, trying to find my way down the trail. I have to admit, it's pretty exciting. Pretty deep woods, as you can see here. Got to keep an eye out for the black bears. They say there's not many grizzlies here, which helps me a little bit. But I keep moving along the trail. It's absolutely beautiful. As you might be able to tell, the leaves are changing. This is fall in very northern Washington state. No one else around at this time of the year. In the summertime, there's lots of people coming through here. Fortunately, I'm alone. I mean, that has its advantages and its disadvantages. The advantage is solitude. The disadvantage, of course, is you're just out here. Little sunshine coming up here after 2 hours and 45 minutes out. Have to cross these rocks though. Figure out what to do here. Step down, step down, step down. Oh yeah, all my Boy Scout training coming in handy here. Step over, step down to another one. I hate to get too soaked here. Okay, a little water in the shoes. Not too bad. I guess I'm just going to have to hoof it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's it. Then there's the trail straight ahead. I'll keep going. Okay, I've got to cross a little bridge here. It's right out of a adventure novel. As you can see here, it's just a log. I'm going to step gently on the log. It's a little wet. And I'm holding on to the rail here. You can see the stream coming down from the mountains. Flows gently under the stream, then of course heads downstream to the lake. And I think I can make it across here without dropping my camera. Keep moving. Steady as they go. Boy, this is one big log, man. Okay, step down. Oh, head up a slight incline here. Say goodbye to this beautiful little bridge. So I guess I'll just continue on the trail. Occasionally I go, oh, just in case there's any wildlife. Needs to be signaled that I'm on my way. Step over a branch here. And keep going around. Might be able to see the lake over here. It's Ross Lake. Between the trees, completed in 1949. It's a dam, actually. Provides most of the electrical power for the city of Seattle and the surrounding area. Well, here I am. I'm going to try to do a self-portrait here down at the lake. So, hello everyone. That's a beautiful lake that I walked up to, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. 3.6 miles, but it took me an hour and a half. So I'm doing good. Just want to say hello to everyone. How you doing? Have a good one. Bye. Beautiful. This is looking down at Ross Lake now. Looking from the mountains where I'm moving. It's just absolutely beautiful sight. Look at those peaks. I'm in eastern Washington State. And I'm looking for the grave site of the great Nez Perce chief, Chief George. Very sad story in American history. And I'm coming to this gate, and I think this is the cemetery. For thousands of years, this area in the Wallowa Valley was Nez Perce territory. They signed a treaty in 1855 which reaffirmed that all of this millions and millions of acres belonged to them. But then gold was discovered in 1860. That changed everything. The treaty was renegotiated. The Nez Perce ended up with 10% of their land. Very sad. Then General Howland told them to move 1,800 miles into Idaho. 800 brave men and women crossed the Rocky Mountains, endured the winter. Then a small band of braves attacked some white settlers. They were so frustrated. And the army pursued the Nez Perce. Chief George was their leader. They almost made it to Canada, but outnumbered, surrounded, and many killed, Chief George surrendered. They put a monument up to him right in this cemetery. And here it is. For many years he lived in Idaho, but he refused to give up his religion. So they sent him back here to Washington State, to another reservation, the Nez Perce Reservation in the town of Nespalim. And that's where we're at. And that's where he's buried. You can see thunder rolling in the mountains. People still come and pay a tribute to this great chief. Here he is in true life. This was 1905 that this monument was made. At that time, they recalled the words of the great chief. And he said, "From this day forward, as the moon shines, I will never fight again." Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, 2011, Saturday, May 28th, eastern Idaho. I'm going upriver. This is the St. Joe River, very famous. It's up near flood stage now. 100 years ago they used to run logs down this river, and they came from these forests over here that are all now overgrown again, thankfully. Lots of pine trees. There was a time the homesteaders were here. They were given plots of land, were allowed to cut down their trees. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it from the mountain down to the river. Hauling the logs was the toughest part, so that they could sell them. Therefore, they sold their land to the barons of lumber, including the Weyerhaeusers. Lots of claim jumping, mysterious stories of murder and intrigue on the St. Joe River. This is dangerous rafting time of the year. Not bad for walking. The only problem is this is bear hunting season. Up in the mountains, those hunters are looking for bear. I hope they don't mistake me for one on the St. Joe River. Welcome to Montana. It's Memorial Day 2011, May 30th. As you can see, there's still snow on the ground. I'm going up, or coming back from Gold Pass, where's the border between Idaho and Montana. Yesterday I had a very, very difficult climb up the Idaho side, and today had to drive almost 200 miles to get to the Montana side so I could hook up this road, which is closed. It's been pretty exciting. Coming up that mountain in Idaho, I give it a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10 for difficulty, with the 10 being going across 150-foot sand dunes in the Sahara Desert. But this is what Montana looks like. I'm in western Montana, about 100 miles west of Missoula, and near the small town of St. Regis. St. Regis was founded by a missionary who ministered to the Indians. And down here I want to show you the permafrost. It's very, very hard earth. Even after the snow melts, I don't know whether that will ever become soft. Again, it's May. They tell me the pass may not open until July. Good morning. It's about 6:30 a.m. It's a little chilly today. I'm walking through the crust area of Yellowstone. This thermal activity here is absolutely spectacular. September 3rd, you can see as I walk up this bridge, it's already icy. You can hear the mold and water. It's just spectacular. As we walk our way through, you can smell the sulfur. It's really terrific. Just absolutely engaging. Have to be careful not to step down on this crust, or it could be a disaster. You could get scalded very badly. So I'm going to keep on my march with my bear spray handy in the early morning, just in case we should encounter some wildlife. And with that, as we pan around, I'll say good evening and good night from the Smoky Yellowstone. Hello girls, I'm here visiting Osolamia. Yes, this is Papa 2. There I am. Now Osolamia is about to come, so you know who she is. Osolamia, hace la pata fría a la pizzeria, a Maya Isabella. Maya Isabella, yo te quiero, yo te quiero. There she is. That's my friend. That's Osolamia. See her shooting up into the air. Isn't she beautiful? What do you think, Isabella? What do you think, Maya? Beautiful to the world. See here? Yes, beautiful to the world. Well, welcome to Butte, Montana. These big rigs are used to dig holes so that the miners used to be able to get down and find copper, and before that, silver, on this part of the richest hill in the world. It's June 10th, I repeat, June 10th, and it's snowing. We're at 4,900 feet, but even I was surprised to see the snow up here. So I'm just going to keep plugging along through the grass. Unfortunately today I have to hit the Continental Divide, which is going to take me up another couple of thousand feet. I hope the road isn't closed here in mid-June, just a few days before Father's Day. But there's a certain beauty to it all. This used to be a very rich country. Now with the copper and silver basically gone, they rely on tourism. Have a great day. I hope the snow ends. Well, it's warmed up a little bit. And now I'm coming down through a spectacular canyon. Just absolutely beautiful. These granite walls seem to extend up, unclimbable. If you're a rock climber, this is your space. Wow, it's just fantastic. About 15 miles east of Yellowstone and about 30 miles from Cody, Wyoming. Fantastic countryside. Now, if this were a little warmer country, there'd be rattlesnakes. So I don't know quite where they're at, but I'm still looking out for those creatures which we call bears. So, and I have my bear whistle just in case, which I blow every so often. Goodbye for now. I'm coming up a big hill in Wyoming. Out there somewhere, those antelope. I don't know whether you can see them. They're straight ahead. Small herd, about 6 of them. Bushy tails. Looks like there's some gas up there at the top of the hill. There they go running. Have to look careful to see them. They just keep running on ahead of me. So I'll see if I can find them up here. There you go. This is the hill I'm climbing. There she be. Not that bad. About 50 degrees today. So I just keep rolling along. Almost the end of April, Wyoming. Here I sit. That's how I look as I walk along. I know I've been huffing and puffing, but I'm coming to the top of the hill. Those antelope are still running. There they go. I arrived in Point Barrow, Alaska in the winter of 2009. Wind chills were at 60 degrees below zero, and the wind gusted up to 40 miles an hour. Nevertheless, I made my way with a guide across 42 miles of the frozen Arctic Ocean, but had to return when the guide's vehicle broke down. The summer of 2012 was brutally hot as I made my way across the breadbasket of the United States. But there I was in Nebraska as temperatures reached 108 degrees. The wind is blowing hard here on the prairie. I'm in Nebraska, Western. I've been doing this on this road all day, doing the best I can with the wind blowing up, I don't know, 45 they say miles an hour. I just keep pushing. You can hear it blowing here. Do the best we can to get around. It's beautiful in its own way, although a little lonely. No crops here, it must be cattle country. Very interesting place to live. Must be something in the winter time, that's for sure. Okay, so I fight this wind. Goodbye. This is Boot Hill, known for all the Western folks. Oh, might be buried here. I'm gonna be heading up here now. See what's going. We go up these steps. Guess they didn't have the steps in those days. Come up to the cemetery. There we are. It says Boot Hill. I don't know who's buried here, but we got to go find out. There's an old cowpoke up there. Just keep going around. Okay, wow. Pretty interesting, isn't it? I'd like to go to Boot Hill. Never know. They said a lot of the people buried here were buried with their boots on. That's why they called it Boot Hill. Many of them were just unknown. So here's a mother and daughter, first to be buried in Boot Hill, they say. Miss Lily Miller, 1780s, I guess. Keep going around here. Here's an unknown in Boot Hill, 1885. Whatever that folk was. 1887. Unknown grave. Unknown grave. Oh, there's a big cowpoke. Hello there. Wow. Boot Hill Cemetery. The trail boss says right here, this pays tribute to those courageous men who came up the Texas Trail and recognizes the role of the trail drives played in establishing the beef cattle industry in the northern plains. This is in Ogallala. This was established in the 1870s. So here we are, Boot Hill today, 2012. Here's another grave over here. My gracious, it's got a name. Jasper Southard, 1880. Amen. Well, it has been hot. It's a little cooler today. Yesterday it was about 103. The day before that it was 108 up in North Platte, Nebraska. A little breeze today. It's late afternoon. I'm trying to hit my 20 miles. 2.5 to go. So the sun is covered with a little bit of cloud, which is much better than the last week, which has been not fun. But I'm still rolling. Here's the countryside. I don't know why they're not planting there. Although there are some crops coming up, but yeah, you can see the corn if you look carefully. There's the old train. Yep. That train's been running around here all the time, pursuing me. I'm on Highway 30 following the tracks. So from Nebraska, mid-June 2012, all is good.
Avoiding the harsh weather in the Midwest in the winter of 2012, I decided to walk the Dixie part of my route through the enchanting states of Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi.
Here we are, Civil War town, Bainbridge, Georgia. Very famous in the South are these Civil War heroes. Here we are, dedicated to a Confederate soldier. Bainbridge Volunteers, organized 1859. This little park is dedicated to them. This part of the U.S., Civil War is never forgotten. So here we are. There's Liberty Bell over there as well. God bless America, I guess we say. Okay, I'm here in the Waffle House. This is the, what do we have, the 29th? 29th of March, 2012. We're going to get it right here somehow. There in the middle is Sergeant Major Casey, and that's John Henley. Huntley, sorry, Huntley Brinkley, John Huntley.
And Janie Richards.
Yes, and Janie Richards now, she is a former combat engineer, built the roads in Desert Storm, and so we all have something in common. Now, Sergeant Major, what did you do?
I was air traffic controller.
Air traffic controller, wow. Big technical job. Well, we appreciate it. Now, over here is Annette. Sitting there smiling. She's going to have her 45th wedding anniversary. Wow, congratulations. So I think we've got it all, and I just hope this little camera works. It says it's all charged up. Oh yeah, from Enterprise, Alabama, in the Waffle House.
There you go.
Hello again from Alabama. Well, for the first time in 4 days, I'm now between Troy and Fort Rucker at Enterprise, Alabama. And believe it or not, it's reasonably quiet. There are a few cars, but during the last 4 days there's been all this traffic on Highway 84. So I really need to stay focused. Here, there's not a big shoulder on the road, but I can still find my way without too much trouble. I've been walking on the grass, as you can see here, so it gets me by anyway. Nice section of road. I'm coming up to Enterprise, where I'll be picking up a lot of town traffic. That's where Fort Rucker is at. So it's kind of interesting rolling around here. Up on top of this ridge, there's a church everywhere in the south and a high school. But everywhere in the south, when you come up on a ridge, even in lonely areas like this, you seem to come by a church. So I guess worshiping means a lot here. Okay, bye-bye. Just wanted to say hello from old Alabama. Moving along here on a nice country road, not far from Fort Rucker, Alabama, the home of aviation for the U.S. Army. Lots of helicopters there. Reminds me of the Vietnam era, of course. Gives me something to think about as I roam around the road here. So, from near Fort Rucker, hello, and have a great day.
In the winter of 2013, I decided to walk the challenging Florida Historic Trail and finally made it in several segments, all the way from the Everglades to Tallahassee, Florida.
Here I am on the Florida Trail near Palataca, Central Florida, 85 miles south of Jacksonville. It's been raining here. I just want to show you what it's like to try to cross one of these pools. I'm going to try to take a little side vein here. The water filled in what would have been a nice road in the dry season. I saw a biologist at the Buckman Lock who warned me that it was wet, so I'm wearing boots. But she also said a woman was attacked by a bear near here a few weeks ago, and she wasn't quite sure what provoked it. I'm going to try to cross here. Then she said, but bears usually aren't a problem. What you have to watch out for around here are snakes. So I've seen my share of rattlers and vipers, moccasins along this trail. I'll just be careful. I'm on the Florida Trail, working my way through the big cypress swamp. As you can tell, it's pretty exciting, a little on the challenging. The other day I really got caught in the big rain, so it was a little difficult, but I managed to do 19 miles. 19.8 actually, if anyone's counting. So now I'm coming from the other side of Interstate 75, headed up the trail to the approximate area where I left off before. This is my famous out and back technique. At any rate, it's a challenge, but fun. And there's a lot of big critters out here, so you gotta be a little alert. That was my run keeper, if you could hear it in the background, for when I just started it up again. But it's fun. Looks like a jungle, but it's just a Florida swamp. Yep. Florida Trail again. You know, that gator's just sitting there. I guess he's waiting for his din-din or something. I don't know. Yeah, just sitting there silently. Oh man. So, and it's dry out here, but it's gonna rain. So once again, here I am, taking a deep breath after seeing that guy. Goodbye! This is the Florida Trail. I'm near Davenport, good old Florida. You can see this part of the trail, because it's close to a road, has been trimmed up pretty nice. Gets a little thick here. I'm just reading about some of the big animales. Up here it's mostly snakes, so you just have to be on alert for those critters. So it's getting to be the afternoon. That means I have to be on alert, and there aren't many people out here. So here's what I look like as I'm rolling along, just out here in the wilderness. Carrying 2 small bottles of water. I only plan to do 4 or 5 miles on this loop, then hook up on the other side. But it's pretty exciting. Glad it's clear. Also, I'm glad there's not very much sun today. Well, here I am again, 30 miles north of Lake Butler, crossing an area that's not too wet today. But as you can see, there are a few little pools here. I have to step gingerly into them. No crocodiles or alligators up here, I don't think. Probably a few other examples of wildlife. Yesterday I saw a wild turkey. Here's a bridge I'm crossing, it's nice. Then back into the water. Slosh, slosh, slosh. Have my walking stick. Now, wild turkey was quite a sight, so there are bears here. You don't see them. Lots of little ground animals, birds, and somewhere hidden back here are those famous snakes. So here's how I look today. I think somewhat normal, although I didn't shave this morning. But it's fun to be out here on the Florida Trail, although it is a little tiring. Goodbye for now, February 17th, President's Day 2014. Well, this is the Great Swanee River. I'm near White Springs, Florida, but actually this starts up in the Okefenokee Swamp. Florida Trail goes right by the river. Sorry to tell you, the river is infested with alligators. So there's no swimming, but you do have to be a little careful as you walk along here. It's a pretty narrow trail. And what I worry about most is just having a little bit of fatigue. You know, when you get tired, you kind of lose focus a little bit. Fortunately, I have a walking stick, and that helps me maneuver along here. It's really quite beautiful, and the day's very nice. And it's dry. You have to check the water level at a gauge on the river before you're allowed to enter the Florida Trail, because in the wet season, part of the trail is underwater for a significant amount of time. So I'm just going to keep an eye out as I try to record here. I'm going to keep an eye out for this little ledge. I did hear one gator jump in. You know, sometimes they're sunning themselves, but really quite interesting. There's the orange marker. This is close to White Springs, the little town, and to the museum in the name of Stephen Foster. Oh, everybody knows who he is, right? He's the famous person who's known for the Swanee River. And it goes something like this. Way down upon the Swanee River, far, far away. Whoops, I better not sing anymore, because right down below, I think there's another gator. Well, it's been raining today, and here I am in the swamp. I'm near Hampton, Florida. Sign says 22 miles north of Gainesville. So the rain's been a little annoying. However, the trail has been nice. This is one of the Rails to Trails sites. Former railroad used to run here, and now it's been converted to the walking part. I guess it was hard when they built this railroad, because they had to elevate out of the swamp, and they succeeded in doing it. As for me, I'm having fun, of course, still roaming around. Today I hit 600 miles right about this point on the Florida Trail. Technically speaking, 5,750 miles since I started in Alaska. Wow, this is February 8th, 2014. That was July 2000 and, oh my gracious, 6? Well, anyway, from the swamp, I want you to all enjoy it. And if you ever have a chance, make sure you take time to wander through the Florida Trail. I flew out of Fairbanks, Alaska in the fall of 2013 in a small 3-seater bush plane. Unfortunately, bad weather prevented us from arriving at the Arctic Ocean, and I ended up walking through the challenging Anatuvik Pass. Followed the Lewis and Clark Trail across Missouri and passed through Columbia, where the press greeted me as a returning hero.
Well, it's early morning. I'm in Nebraska, but close to the Missouri River and the Missouri border. Early September 2012. Just want to give you a feel for what it looks like in the early morning. A lot of fog today around the river. Of course, for me, I'm almost awake, enjoying myself, getting ready to move on, and as always, I have my cup of coffee here. This keeps me moving. Yeah, it's going to be good. So now there's a car coming up the road. These dark roads, you have to be a little careful. But I'm all set to go. So I work my way down to Florida. And goodbye from almost the Missouri border. This is a tale of two fields across the street from each other. Notice how dry this one is. Guess there's no irrigation. But in this little town of Craig, Missouri now, look at over here. Look at that beautiful crop. At least on the outer ring here, it's all green. Very lovely. So I guess there must be water somewhere. It's also higher. Looks like about 6.5, almost 7 feet compared to the smaller ones here. Wilting on the vine, but there's still some corn. There she blow. Here's the corn piece right here. Ah, it doesn't look that bad. Well, here we are in Missouri. I've crossed the Great Missouri River. It's a hot day here. Done about 15.5 miles, so I'm getting on the little weary end. But still plugging along, enjoying all this beautiful corn.
Welcome back. You might be familiar with the saying, you don't know a man until you walk a mile in his shoes. But what about 4,500 miles? KOMU8's Drew Brackett explains how one man is experiencing the journey of a lifetime.
Tom Klein has experienced the extremes, from being in 60 below zero weather in Alaska to hot and muggy swamps in Florida. He has done all of this while walking across the United States. Klein earned his master's degree in industrial engineering from Mizzou in 1968. He went on to have a career in medicine. Klein later retired and wanted to do something nobody had done before: walk from the northernmost part of the United States to the southernmost part. Klein says he is doing it to raise awareness for malaria.
There are many technologies that we can deploy to eliminate malaria. So that's the primary reason I'm doing it. If we eliminate malaria, just think of all the mosquito-borne diseases that we can eliminate.
Klein started his walk in 2006 at the northernmost point of the United States in Stone Barrel, Alaska. Now Klein is walking all the way to the southernmost part of the U.S. to Key West, Florida. So far, Klein has walked about 4,500 miles and has about 900 to go. Klein is walking in stages and not just straight through.
You can do something like this and still have a life. You don't have to drop out and carry a big backpack and disappear from the family or from your work commitments or from your investments. You don't have to do any of that. You can do it one step at a time, I like to say.
But when he's not with family, he is walking and averages about 20 miles a day. He says it can be tough at times, but he knows he can do it.
I've always been a walker, and you can do anything. This walk is a perfect example. I may not be fast, but if I can be persistent, I'm sure I can complete it.
Klein has walked all but about 70 miles of the journey alone. He says he uses a technique he calls leapfrogging.
I park my support vehicle, usually a car, then I walk out 3 miles. Then I come back to the car, 3 miles, which is a total of 6. Then I drive 6. And I keep a meticulous log to the 10th of the mile, so I always know where I'm at.
But the best part about walking in so many different places
are the people that you meet. You know, I've seen a lot of wildlife. I've encountered many bears, 20 or 30 of them in British Columbia and coming across the Yukon, grizzly bears, moose, alligators in Florida, rattlesnakes, pit vipers, the whole thing. But it's really the people that you meet.
For now, Klein will continue walking and be the first person to do a walk of this kind. Drew Brackett, KOMU 8 Sports, Boonville.
And a Mizzou graduate at that. Drew, thank you. Klein says he has about 900 more miles to walk and plans to finish sometime next year.
I can't even see anything. I think it's working.
Hello. Yep. Now you can pan it on David.
It is working. I just couldn't see it with my sunglasses.
And then you can take it out and hold it out and do a selfie on Jenna.
I'm not a good...
everybody. Hello from the high Arctic. May 1st, 2015. Yes, we're almost there. I'm here with Jenna and David and our crew of wonderful dogs. And we're heading to Nuiqsut. We've come 30 plus and we've got 30 plus to go, round numbers. And there we'll be. Thank you all. Hello everyone from the tundra, north slope of Alaska. Today is May 2nd, 2015, and here I am. Beautiful countryside here. No trees, no people, and other than a few wolf tracks, no animales this time out. We're getting close to Nuiqsut. It's almost there. We can feel it in our blood. A couple of days we'll be there. We've had a good trip so far, so here we go, off into the wild. Well, this is the tundra, north slope of Alaska, May 2nd, 2015. As you can see, there's absolutely nothing here. It's day 6. I've been trying to make my way the 75 somewhat lonely miles to the small town of Nuiqsut. Then from there I'll have another 10 miles and I will have completed all of Alaska. But it's pretty barren out here. Fortunately, those tracks are of a dog team that's with me, helping me along. Here's my ski poles. Nothing around. Haven't seen any people in 6 days. Just passed some wolf tracks, and those wolf tracks were following the white Arctic fox tracks, which were following a ground mole tracks. So there is some things to think about and to look at out here on the tundra. Hope to see you all again from the tundra, north slope of Alaska, literally the middle of nowhere. Goodbye. Dog team is stuck. Got to push it up the hill. This is a riverbank. We're still only 6 miles from Nuiqsut, but it's a challenge. Fortunately, my guides are fully up to the task. They're pushing hard. Just donned my snowshoes. There they are. They're on top of the hill. Wow, and this is the community we're in. Just beautiful. Here's the tundra. Not much out there. A little vegetation by this huge river. First we've seen all day. From near Nuiqsut, North Slope, Alaska, May 3rd, 2015. Enjoy. Nuiqsut, finally, 8 days. Here we are. And greetings from Nuiqsut, Alaska, May 4th, 2015. We have arrived.
Here I come. I can feel the exhilarating feeling. Key West is just around the corner. It's been 6,500 miles. The end is finally here.
This is the DreamWalk finale. Here I am. It is the 14th of November, 2015. Key West is that way. If I can make it when the sun comes up, there we will be at the southernmost point in the United States. And it's been a great trip. 6,504 miles. Thank you all. We have arrived! Oh my god. Here we are, guys. Right here. This is the reason why. Thank you. Okay, so I've reached the southernmost point in the United States. The question is, what comes next?
about all I can say is I want to head that way. Find an island, find a continent, find some people, and keep on walking to try to wipe out, as you know, malaria. Let's end this disease. We can do it. Thank you.
Sienten boca, there's Abba eating it.
I'm not eating it, I'm serving it. I'm trying to...
Yeah.